Switch Station 32 back for another news video. If you're a subscriber, welcome back. If you're new to the channel, if you leave a like and a subscribe, it really helps the channel grow. We'll start right off with the Square Enix Presents that happened last week. There wasn't too much information in it. They went over Outriders and showed a good trailer for that. The trailer looked half decent, but I think everybody knows if they don't play Outriders or not. Outriders is going to Game Pass, so for free on day one. So if you're interested in Outriders, I recommend it because you don't be able to play it right on Game Pass. But the two that stood out the most was Life is Strange 3. And I played Life is Strange 1 and it was pretty good. I really liked it. A character from Life is Strange 1 is going into Life is Strange 3. They're like a point and click game, adventure game, decide what's the outcome's gonna happen, stuff like that. If you're a fan of the Telltale series, and you never played Life is Strange and you're looking for a kind of game like that, these are kind of really similar, only it's made by Square Enix, so you might want to give it a try. Now what happens is her friend dies in a town called Haven, and you're going on a journey to find out what happened to the friend, and there's a lot of mysterious things that don't add up, and the goal of the adventure is to find out what happened to your friend, and it looks really good. The story looks really good. I'm interested to play it. I played Life is Strange 1. My buddy played Life is Strange 2. He told me it's really good. I have it. I just haven't played it yet. I'm going to play Life is Strange 2 too. If you're a Life is Strange fan, Life is Strange 3 looks really good. But the big one at the end, Projectafia, got its name, Forspoken. And this game looks really good. It looks like it's going to be a fast-paced action-adventure game made by Square. Kind of looks like similar like a Final Fantasy game, but we're not quite sure exactly how it's going to do. It looks like it's a medieval kind of game, but it also looks like it's you're in the modern world at the same time. We have to see more gameplay, see how it's going to look. It has dragons in it. The dragons look amazing, and I love action adventures and I love Square Enix, so I'm really pumped for this game and I can't wait to play it. And that was pretty much the highlights for the Square Enix Presents. Never got no Final Fantasy 16 news. We're pretty much way in until summer. I think all these companies are so close to June that they're just getting their little titles out of the way. And then all these big titles that blow people's minds, that's all coming in June. Whether it's at E3 or all these companies do their own thing, that's when we're going to start seeing these big trailers. The biggest news of the week would be Sony is shutting down the stores for the PlayStation 3, PSP, and the one that surprised me was the Vita, because the Vita's really not that old yet, and they're really shutting the door on their only handheld, which is really sad. The Vita's actually a really good console. The only thing that held the Vita back, in my opinion, was it did not have back triggers. I think if the Vita would have had back triggers, a lot more people would have played it. Like in today's age, especially in first-person shooters, people don't want to use touchpads for triggers. They want to use real triggers, and that threw a lot of people off, in my opinion. That's just my opinion why the Vita wasn't as good as what it could have been. Plus, Sony didn't support it. They're shutting the stores down. They're shutting the PSP, PS3 stores down in July. They're shutting the Vita store down in August. Now, that's really sad. But one good thing out of this is all your digital content that you purchased, and this is a really big deal for people purchasing digital content, because a lot of people, this is the thing that they're scared of, is getting digital games, and 10 years from now when their consoles move on, but they still like all these old games, and they still like having a big collection of video games, but they just don't have the space for it, so they go with digital. Or some people just don't like hauling the disc out and put it in, whatever your reason is. Big thing about digital is, are we going to lose all of our games? Well, you're not losing them right now. Sony is still going to make it so you can still download all your games, all your purchase games, all your video content. If you want movies and stuff like that, you're going to be able to re-download all that through the store. You're just not going to be able to purchase anything, and you're not going to be able to. If you have vouchers and stuff, that's not going to be reusable. If you have money in your store, it'll just transfer over to your PS4 and your PS5, whatever you're going to play on next if you stick with Sony. So that's really good news for disc, because if you have a disc, almost all games need a day one patch, And sometimes it's not even day one patch. Sometimes it comes out 2 or 3 months later and they're still fixing these games. You still don't be able to pop that disc in and still be able to download the updates. Now the DLC, if it was a voucher and it's not actually on the disc, you're not going to be able to get those DLCs anymore. So if you already have the DLCs purchased, you might want to download all your DLCs right now on all them stores just so you can get it. But the good news is, for collectors, people that have discs, people that have the digital content, and they still care about their old library, they still care about all their old games, you're still going to be able to play them, you're still going to be able to download them, you're still going to be able to pop a disc in, and you're still going to be able to download the updates, and your games will still work fine. You just won't have the DLCs and stuff unless it's on the disc. One bad thing though is, like PS1 games, some of them like Persona 2, stuff like that is going through the roof right now to buy it physical. Some of these games are selling $800-900, $300-400, and a lot of people can't afford them. They just want to, you can go on the store and buy it for $9.99, $6.99, $12.99. That's a big deal to some people, because some people ain't gonna be able to afford to go out and buy them, and some people don't like going out retro hunting and stuff like that. They just want the convenience of going on the store, buying these old games, and having a way to play them. And that's going to be all gone now. The only way you're going to be able to play these if you already have it purchased, or if you go out and find them and put it in your PS3. That's if you have the backwards compatible PS3. And I think the backwards compatible PS3, if you have one, you might want to hold on to it, because I think that's going to go up in price too. All your old games, they're probably going to go up. For people that have these games, it's good for them, because their games are going to go up in price. Their collection is going to be even more valuable in a couple of years from now than what it is now. It is sad, but at least we didn't get the terrible news where the discs ain't going to be able to download the updates, the digital games ain't going to be able to re-download them, and all your backlog is just gone, erased. That's not what's happening, so that's a good thing. In other news, Sony came out, and I'm surprised they did this. This is telling me that psvr2 is coming out in 2022. It's not coming out this year, but next Christmas, that's going to be coming out, in my opinion. They showed on Twitter the psvr2 controllers. They're going to have sticks. One side's going to have the triangle and circle. The other side's going to have square and X. And that's really good for me, because I do not like the Move controllers, and I didn't play very many PSVR games that I couldn't use the DualShock for. I only played the ones that you could use the DualShock for, so I'm really pumped about that. I really like them. Some people didn't like how they look, because they're like putting your hand in a globe. But when you get to see like side shots and stuff like that, they look really nice. They're gonna look nice when you hold them, and people are gonna get used to them. I'm really excited for these controllers. The PSVR2 is I think is gonna be really good. The single cable, I wish it was wireless, but single cable. You don't need the camera anymore. The camera on the PSVR don't work on the PS5 without getting your adapter. And now we know why, because you don't need the tracking sensor. Your tracking sensor and all that stuff's going to be in your controllers, which is really cool. You're going to have adaptive feedback. PSVR controllers, they're going to be able to sense where your fingers are when you're holding it. So when you squeeze it, they're going to be able to tell where you're squeezing, how you're picking something up, what fingers you're picking it up with. So if you open your hand and you close your hand, they're going to be able to tell that you are picking something up with your hand. Now that's really, really cool. That's why they're in a globe, and that's why it's like that, so you can let go of it and pick it back up, so they can simulate you grabbing something. And that's really cool, and it's going to be, I think it's going to be really, really immersive, and I can't wait. I'm really excited for the PSVR 2. And moving on to Xbox. But Square announced that Octopath Traveler is coming to the Xbox, which is really cool. It's one of my favorite games of all time on the Switch. It's up there like top 3-4 games on the Switch. I love Octopath Traveler. I'm a huge fan. Got the collector's edition right here. But that's going to Game Pass. So anybody that's an Xbox fan and you're a 16-bit RPG fan, I highly recommend picking that up. I can't recommend Octopath Traveler enough, and that's going to Game Pass, which is really cool. I was really hoping, it's because the Square Enix Presents, that they were going to announce that was going to this PlayStation, because I don't have an Xbox right now, so I get the trophies for it. But For anybody, an Xbox fan, I highly recommend picking that game up. And then Xbox had their ID Xbox event where they went over all the indie games, and they showed all the indie games coming to Game Pass day one, and there's a lot of good titles. Xbox is really pushing indies right now, and that's really cool. I'm really glad to see Xbox doing that, because these indie titles, some of these indie titles are really good, like Disco Elysium, all them games. There's a lot of good, really good indie games that came out in the last few years that I highly recommend. As you can see, some of these indie games are really, really cool. And they're all going to Game Pass on day one. Celeste is awesome. This game looks really cool. The scissor reel looks really awesome. I wish they would have done it like this, because the way they presented it was kind of slow, and I think a lot of people tuned out, but there's a lot of good games in this. This is one of my favorite ones, the Wild at Heart one. I love the art style of it. This game looks cool too. One good thing about the indie games is you're not going to get art styles like the indie games in AAA games. Really cool. That game looks really cool too. Some of these, like this little racing game, like that's awesome. That little puzzle game, the dragon, like some of these games look really awesome. I can't wait to play them. This game right here is coming out on the Switch. That looks cool too. Stalker 2, a lot of people are talking about. A lot of people are excited for Stalker 2. Edge of Eternity. The combat in that looks really interesting. My son's super excited for this game. He loves Hello Neighbor. Boyfriend Dungeons, like that's awesome. Like, look at the art in some of these. Empire Sin. It looks cool. Overcooked 2, for anybody that hasn't played it, is a great game. Hollow Knight's a great game. And the last bit of news this week, the Limited Run announced that they're coming out with Doom 1, 2, and 3. And this looks really cool. It's coming out on Switch, it's coming out on PS4, whatever you prefer it on. The base game has the reversible cover, but there's no download code. All 3 games are on the cartridge, which is really cool. And it comes with Doom, it comes with a steel book, it comes with the original comic book. That's really cool. I'm really excited to see the comic book. It comes with 3 6x9 art prints, and it comes with a floppy disk with Doom. And anybody played Doom 1 and they know that it was originally on PC, and it's a USB thumb drive, and it's really cool. I really like it. And it comes with a keychain and a metal card replica. And anybody that wants to go out and get the big one, the collector's edition, that comes with a shadow box. And the shadow box plays Doom music, and that's really cool. The shadow box looks really, really insane. And if you're a Doom fan, I highly recommend picking that up, because that looks really, really neat. That'll be Switch Station 32, back for another video. Hope you guys liked it. If you leave a like and a subscribe, comment, share the videos, it really helps the channel grow.